Hey everybody, it's John Teti. You know, season 5 of Better Call Saul is over, but I still find myself wondering, what is Kim Wexler up to? What is Slippin' Kimmy up to? Because I think she's hiding something, and I want to present the evidence to you in a highly speculative, borderline irresponsible basement breakdown. Let's do it right now. I'm going to start with a box of files, an ordinary box of files. Or is it? This close-up of the files here, this is the first shot we see in that scene in the finale when Kim and Howard have that argument in the empty courtroom. And look, we know what's in this box, right? We know. We saw Kim talk to Grant and ask Grant for some work from the public defender's office.
I'd like some more PD overflow.
After that, Grant takes her to a room full of file boxes like these, and he even retrieves one for her.
I'll get you a box.
And here's that box. Case closed. We can go home, everybody. End of video. Oh, except in the words of the famous TV detective Columbo, just one more thing. You see, this box, it came from the public defender's office, the abbreviation for which is PD. It's even in the script.
I'd like some more PD overflow.
But in this conspicuous close-up of the box, the letters say PPD. And in the legal world, PPD means pre-prosecution diversion. Of course, the only reason I know that is because of this.
We are here to finalize the pre-prosecution diversion for James Morgan McGill.
A PPD was the legal agreement that kept Jimmy out of jail after he broke into Chuck's house and destroyed that tape recorder. And all Jimmy had to do to fulfill the terms of the program was check in with his PPD officer regularly.
Well, it looks like you completed your hours.
Yep.
Your PPD fees are up to date.
And keep his nose clean.
Are you associating with any known criminals?
No.
In other words, we know that Jimmy's PPD file is full of lies. And if the law ever found out about that, it could become a problem for Jimmy because, at least at the time he signed it, breaking the terms of the PPD agreement meant
The crimes to which he has confessed here will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, in addition to any new charge.
in essence, it meant that Jimmy could be prosecuted for breaking into Chuck's house. The charges brought by Chuck would be revived if he broke the PPD. And these are charges for which he has already admitted guilt as part of this agreement. Is that legal jeopardy still in play now that Jimmy has completed the PPD program? Well, I don't know, but Kim would know because she represented him in that matter. Anyway, it just all makes for a real funny coincidence that Kim's file box ends up saying PPD, when you'd figure that the box that Grant grabbed for Kim in the public defender's office would say PD. Although, you know, if you did have a box that said PD, all you'd have to do is get out a Sharpie and add one P to it. Maybe extend the line a little bit, that's pretty easy, and then you have a box that says PPD. And from there, Kim could head over to the office where the PPD files are kept. And holding a box that makes her look like she belongs there, she could maybe sweet-talk her way past the staff. After all, as Jimmy reminded us in this very episode,
the clerks love you. They will give you continuance on anything.
they love Kim down at the courthouse. But would Kim prey on the sympathies of the good, kind public servants at the courthouse to engage in some funny business with official documents? Well, let's ask Shirley from the City of Lubbock Building Safety Office. Shirley Hartland, that's the character's actual name. She is the upstanding citizen who Kim so deftly bamboozled in that season 4 episode, Wiedersehen, with the old leaky bag of breast milk routine. Remember this one? Kim employed that scam to swap out a different version of the official plans for a new Mesa Verde bank branch. So, yeah, it seems plausible to me that she could find her way to this file cabinet that we saw in the cold open of the season 4 episode, Something Stupid. What's her motive, though? Why would she want to get at those PPD files? That I don't know. I don't really have a theory there, but I do know that those files represent a vulnerability for Jimmy, a weak point. In the episode breakdowns for season 5, I talked about how this spot where the heart is later of the season has been used to mark Jimmy's trauma. So when Grant says that Kim wants the cases that will get you right here and points to that spot, well, Grant means one thing, but I wonder if the second meaning is, yeah, Kim does want the cases that will get you right here, that will get Jimmy right here. And for Jimmy, those cases lie in those PPD files. Of course, I'm assuming that Kim is secretly working against Jimmy, that she goes through the motions of collaborating with him, but that she has a side play known only to her. Pretty big assumption, right? Although that would be a very Jimmy move of her to pull. After all, he's done it to Kim more than once. Most recently in Wexler v. Goodman, where Kim thought that they had called a truce against Kevin Wachtel, and then Jimmy goes out with his own more aggressive play. As Kim put it at the time,
"You turned you and me versus the bank into you versus me."
You and me becomes you versus me, which is what brings me to the other piece of season 5 that leaves me wondering: this wedding, the proposal and the marriage. Kim's proposal that comes at the conclusion of this argument was the most surprising moment of the season, because Kim is fed up with Jimmy's backstabbing. She's talking openly about ending the relationship.
You lie. I lie. This has to end.
And that she seems to pivot on a dime.
Maybe we get married.
So at the end of the season, I'm reflecting on this. And I'm also reflecting on the revenge that Kim is plotting against Howard. Howard in the finale made Kim feel humiliated and ostracized from her professional community, and her reaction was to form a plan that would make Howard feel the same way and worse.
What if Howard does something terrible?
That's a natural human behavior. We have a natural predilection for poetic revenge. When we're wounded, we want the person who hurt us to feel the way we felt. Maybe more so, right? We're wired to inflict sympathy on those who have wronged us. And I wonder if maybe that same dynamic was at work at the midpoint of the season. Because in this climactic argument, when Kim feels so wronged by Jimmy, Jimmy took a Jimmy and Kim story and secretly made it Jimmy versus Kim. And Kim's response is to give Jimmy the ultimate Kim and Jimmy story, marriage.
Maybe we get married.
So I don't think it's crazy to imagine that there's a poetic Kim versus Jimmy layer at work here, underlying this proposal that was offered at the height of Kim's anger and indignation. So I looked at the proposal and the wedding from a couple of different angles in the episode breakdowns this season. Here I want to take a second look at this sequence in the courthouse when they get married. I'm getting out the proverbial bulletin board and red string and pushpins here. I'm going to try to make a lot of maybe flimsy connections, but I think they add up to something. I'm looking at the sequence with an eye toward hints of the future and this idea that Kim's story of Kim and Jimmy has this hidden Kim versus Jimmy twist. I'll start outside the courthouse. At the beginning of this wedding sequence, the rationale for the marriage is a new era of openness. The past is the past, and in the future, it's going to be different.
And moving forward,
If I have the urge to not tell you something, then I've got to tell you.
right.
In the future, they're both going to tell each other what they're up to, and the barely unspoken implication here is that those things could include illegal activities by Jimmy, right? Hence, we see Jimmy in a shot that renders him as if he's behind a fence, in the pen, if you will, right? But we also see Kim depicted that way. You might say the image works both ways.
And it works both ways.
Works both ways.
I find this picture significant given that by the end of the season, Kim has fallen into the orbit of an international drug kingpin. I'll drive that connection home even more. In JMM, we see Kim through this metallic diamond pattern. And then in Bagman, the scene where Kim meets Lalo for the first time opens with this shot of Kim looking out a window through that same pattern in an actual prison. These are visual suggestions of an incarcerated Kim Wexler, and they aren't the only ones. See what else you can find when you rewatch the season. Images like these are whispers of a criminal future for Kim and one that has a potentially tragic end for her. Okay, but they are still whispers, right? The operative premise, the one in the foreground in this sequence, is that Jimmy is the crook in the family, and therefore this marriage is really about protecting the both of them from Jimmy's shady dealings. That's what the groom tells Huell out in the hallway here.
This is a legal arrangement. This way, if I get into trouble, they can't make her testify against me.
Of course, what Jimmy fails to note, at least out loud, is that those legal protections of the marriage could work both ways. So Jimmy wouldn't be forced to testify if Kim broke bad by the same token. That's an angle that Jimmy's not likely to consider, and I think Kim would realize this because Jimmy's so liable to treat Kim as the angel. But I think Kim would certainly perceive both sides of the spousal privilege coin there. Maybe that's one piece of the picture for Kim, but My larger suspicion is that there's a trap hidden in the marriage itself. More specifically, I think this marriage exists only at the pleasure of Kimberly Wexler, if that is her real name. There are a number of shots and little moments in this sequence that don't quite add up to me. They strike me as loose ends. I struggle to explain the presence of these images, except that the show seems to be presenting us with a few images that will only gain their proper context later in the story, which is something that both Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul are wont to do. Start with this. We get this kind of stylized, perfectly aligned close-up of Jimmy and Kim's photo IDs. It's almost like a Wes Anderson shot here. It's so symmetrical and perfect. I feel like the show is being a little cute with us, having Jimmy and Kim hold their photo IDs up for a couple seconds so that we can get a good look at them. It's as if evidence is being presented to the audience, evidence of what we don't yet know. You can pore over the information on the cards if you want to freeze frame it on your own. I did not see anything of the ordinary, and I looked at them for an absurdly long time. Same deal with the wedding certificate, which also spends a nice long beat on screen so that we can look at it, but I don't see anything amiss. But Judge Gerard Velber does see something that strikes him. In this marriage ceremony where everything is kept as brief as possible, right? Kim and Jimmy opt for the short vows. There's no rings. The judge himself clearly has better things to do. He just wants to get this over with. The one extracurricular remark that the judge makes is this.
Do you, James Morgan McGill, take Kimberly Wexler? No middle name.
No middle name, a willfully aberrant 2 seconds of dialogue. It's a peculiar thing for His Honor to remark because, I mean, by all appearances, this guy has done hundreds, thousands of these ceremonies. A person with no middle name would not be that out of the ordinary. It's just not that rare. All this line does is to draw attention to Kim's name, which on all the legal documents that the show helpfully presents to us is rendered as Kimberly Wexler. Plus, there's this exchange with Huell about Kim's name.
She gonna be a McGill or Goodman?
Wexler.
Jimmy says that Kim's name is going to be Wexler, very matter-of-factly, but what if he's wrong? What if Kim's name isn't actually Kimberly Wexler? Judge Velber calls out the fact that Kim has only 2 names, not 3. But maybe Kim does have a third name known only to her. A third name with the potential to unravel this pairing. A third element destabilizing a pair that's a very common story arc in this fictional universe. They love to play with that 3 versus 2 dynamic. Perhaps Kim's missing third name is the one that she got from her father, who was absent from the one glimpse that we've gotten of her early life. If there is some third name hidden in the official annals of Kim's life, then the name Kimberly Wexler could be Kim's poison pill. It's a legal technicality upon which she could end the marriage. I mean, not even just end it, retroactively nullify it, as if it never existed, by revealing that the legal documents underpinning it are invalid. Unbeknown to Jimmy, Kim could have created for herself a disposable marriage. Now, I use that wording disposable because among the many contrasts that the sequence draws between a typical marriage and Kim and Jimmy's sort of anti-wedding ceremony, there's this one. We see a normal marriage being photographed in the clerk's office, this happy, cute couple being photographed with a normal camera. And later, Kim and Jimmy's union is photographed with a disposable camera. Kim's disposable marriage, that's the essence of my theory. Speaking of camera work, as I grew more suspicious of Kim, I went back to the first scene inside the courthouse in this sequence, and I rewatched it with my eyes trained on Kim the whole time. They sort of hide Kim with the depth of field. She's always blurry, but you can still always make out what she's doing. So as Jimmy steps away to chat with Huell, let's watch Kim. First, she looks up to watch him step away, almost as if she's making sure he's gone. I don't know, I'm suspicious. Then she pulls out a piece of paper. The image is clear enough that we can see it's the marriage license that appears later, or at least something that looks just like it. The next time we see her, she's comparing 2 documents in her hands. What's on that other piece of paper? I would like to know. And finally, we see her digging into her wallet to get out the photo ID that we see later. So it turns out that the marriage license and the photo ID are really well accounted for, like weirdly well accounted for if you want to look that closely. Everything appears ship-shape, which leads me back to this question, why? If everything is legitimate here, why these lingering close-up shots on these official documents? Why this odd remark from the judge about Kim's 2 names? Why does this blurry glimpse of Kim comparing two documents, and even more so this shot of Kim and Jimmy looking over the marriage license, remind me so much of Shirley and Kim looking over the two Mesa Verde building plans to make sure that they match perfectly before Kim secretly pulled that poster tube switcheroo? Maybe we're being played by Kim and by the filmmakers in the same way that Kim played Shirley. Here are all my legal documents. You can see they're all in order. It's almost like a magician showing you the full deck of cards before she puts one over on you. The natural question is, what's the trick?
Let me have some tricky ones.
Well, I don't know, but here are my vague guesses for season 6, things that I'll be watching for. Number 1, the PPD case and Chuck McGill's charges I think will rise from the dead and come back to haunt Jimmy. The provenance of Kim's name will come into play. I think we'll find that she's something more than Kimberly Wexler. And the Kim versus Jimmy secret of the Kim and Jimmy marriage will emerge, I suspect, when some official documents end up saying something that they shouldn't, since tampering with the official record is such a signature element of past schemes that these two have pulled. That's it. Those are the little fragments that I've been piecing together. Share your thoughts in the comments. After all, we have plenty of time to share our crazy season 6 theories, and I love to hear them. Hey, if you're new to the channel, well, you watched this far, you probably had some fun. Hit that subscribe button, right? Okay, more to come soon, both on the Better Call Saul front and otherwise. Thanks for watching. Love you. Bye.